This happened a short while ago. In high school, I had a friend who loved all things occult. He loved visiting haunted locations, and during the summer holidays he always went. And even now that we're adults with jobs, whenever he has a day off, he still goes out. So the other day I got a call from him. It was already after midnight, so I was a little annoyed as I answered the phone. He, meanwhile, was oddly worked up. "I finally saw the real thing," he said. "Huh?" I thought as I listened to him, but he kept going. According to him, he was going around various ghost spots. I don't remember the exact location, but I think he said he was somewhere deep in the mountains of Nagano. This place was an old, abandoned, run-down pension or something, and he drove there with a friend. They parked the car a short distance from the building, and, each with a torch in hand, they walked around to the back of the building. The pension had gone out of business long ago, and it was falling apart. It looked like your typical abandoned building, he said. There were also boards covering the windows and doors to keep biker gangs and such from going inside and messing the place up. However, before he went, he looked the place up on the internet. So, he went around to the back door with his friend. Right at the back door was a sudden steep slope with no fence or anything to protect people from falling down it. But there was a small amount of space before it, so unless you were really stupid, it was unlikely you'd fall. The back door was boarded up, but there was a window right above it on the second floor. They could enter the building through that window, and they used a ladder that someone else had left behind. Inside, the building was a mess. Someone had left food rubbish everywhere, and the walls were covered in graffiti. Seeing this, he was disappointed, but, at any rate, they went downstairs to have a look around. He went all the way to the front door, but it was a mess there too. It was hard to tell if it was haunted or just a plain abandoned building. Still, they were already there, so they had to look around, and then they made their way to the kitchen. That was when they heard it. The creaking of someone coming down the stairs. I forgot to mention, but apparently the building was made of wood, so it was rather decrepit, and their footsteps made a lot of noise. When they heard that sound, they wondered if somebody else was there with them, and then they had a crazy idea. You can probably guess what, right? Yeah, they decided to try to scare whoever it was. They tiptoed over to the door and hid nearby, turned their torches off, and then waited for the footsteps to get near. Before long, they heard the sound of creaking again. The footsteps seemed to be heading towards the kitchen. Then, his friend noticed something. "Hey, I can't see any light." Now that he mentioned it, if somebody was walking around the building, they should have seen their torch by now. He looked down the hall, but couldn't see anything. Well, maybe they wanted the experience to be more realistic, so they didn't turn it on. If that were true, then the person would no doubt have to rely on the walls and such to find their way around, but there was no hesitation in the footsteps, and they were walking in a straight line towards them. Not only that, but all this time they could only hear one person's footsteps. "Hey man, do you think you could walk around a place like this at night, all alone without any light?" "Maybe they're just doing a test of courage," my friend said, but noticed that his voice was trembling. How odd. Like, the reason you visited a ghost spot is so that you could see a ghost, but when it really happens, suddenly you're gripped with fear. Before long, the footsteps were right by them. Then, they stopped. The footsteps stopped right by the kitchen entrance. They were no longer in the mood to try to scare whoever it was. On the contrary, they were the ones getting scared. And in the silence, all they could hear was the sound of their own heartbeats and breathing. It felt like time had stopped, and they couldn't bear it any longer. My friend's buddy turned on his torch and shone it towards the entrance. But there was nothing there. It was strange they couldn't see anything after hearing the footsteps come closer, but at the same time, they were also relieved. Then, they looked up. A woman's pale head floated above them, looking down at them. Seeing that, the two fell into a panic that was heightened by the fact that they had briefly thought they were safe. They fled out the back door, then went straight towards the car, tumbling the whole way. Well, I was only half listening to the story. I mean, he must have been seeing things, or was straight up lying to me. But then he said something. "I'll show you a ghost as well. Just you wait, I'm coming over." What an idiot. Why on earth would you go see a ghost a second time after already seeing one once? Like, that's enough, man. Don't drag me into this too. "Yeah, is that so?" I said, and then hung up the phone. I thought maybe he was angry at me because I didn't really hear him out, but I went back to bed. I don't know if he's still angry, but I haven't heard from him again since. Maybe he's still visiting various ghost spots. I don't know. I'm much more afraid of people like that than I am of actual ghosts.